Together, please. Hey, guys.
Okay, in the absence of Chairman Bergery, I will call the Public Safety October 8th committee meeting to order. If you would, please, Kathy.
Bergery, Mensch,
Here.
Cahill,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Delar, Marcier,
Here.
Rolfs,
Here.
Anderson,
Here.
Mayor. 6 present, 3 absent.
Okay, public comment.
Let me start by introducing myself. I'm Rebecca Burdick. I was born and raised in Watseka, and I recently decided to create an Iroquois County Neighborhood Watch Group that the community members and the police and the public officials can join. People can share pictures of stolen property and information about crimes being committed in their neighborhood. I do have a couple of the city police officers that are on my page viewing details that's shared. I do tell my members what they should and should not do, as I do not want them disobeying the law. I want them to be law-abiding citizens. And when there's incidents that need to be reported, they can go to a block captain and discuss the matter and make good judgment on the call they make. And as most of you know, since the Safety Act law has been put in effect, it has made our police, state's attorneys' jobs more difficult, putting the criminals in jail. We have drugs dealers dealing fatal drugs. We have people dying from drug overdose and no one being charged for homicide. Families get no justice for their loved one's death. And I'd like to share a couple incidents with you. I had a nephew that died 3 years ago, August 1st, from a drug overdose, and it was put in his food. And he was not a drug addict, and he never used drugs, and he hated taking medication he had to take for his health conditions. Where on the other hand, I had a cousin die from a drug overdose, but unfortunately he was in Champaign when it happened, and he was a well-known addict around here. And we have homeless people that steal people's property to support their alcohol and drug addictions. Some have various infections like MRSA, hepatitis C, possibly even HIV, from shooting up with drugs, and they throw needles down on the ground in public places, which makes it very dangerous for citizens of our community. Some have what they call service dogs, where they carry weapons and drugs. Some of these addicts have been very, what you would say, putting people at risk when in contact with them. Some have mental conditions. They can cause harm to others. That's why I always tell my group members, do not confront them yourself, call the police. We need a homeless advocate to assist the homeless, and a homeless registry for emergency reasons, so if one of these people should become very ill or pass away, that the police or others know how to contact them. The city needs to possibly create a stricter ordinance that bans the homeless from sleeping in the city or on personal properties of residents, so they have no choice but to go to a homeless shelter or an inpatient facility where they can receive help. City officials or police need to speak to the state's attorney about charging people with the drug overdose deaths. We want justice and closure for families. Also, some kind of ordinance that possibly could be enforced saying our community has zero tolerance to you coming here and dealing your drugs, and make it where it's legally possible for the police to enforce something. We also, in the beginning of the school year, after some researching and that when we heard about threats being made in our schools, I found an app called Safe Watch. In case the school shooting or a bombing threat, they can push a button on this app that goes directly to dispatch. Time means life. My conclusion of things is if we have extra neighborhood eyes used, it could help our police get information to solve cases, teach neighbors to be neighborly, and to help one another do problem solving, whether it's non-serious situation or a serious one, before calling the police. People will feel safer in the community knowing we have their backs, and people will learn to build positive relationships with our local police. Public parks will become safer for families to enjoy. I can tell you why this is important to me. We back the Blue, their safety too. They have families waiting for them to come home at the end of their shift. And I hope the city will support our plans to have the neighborhood watch that we so want, that would never die or go away, as we need to help one another to clean up our town and bring back good memories of Watseka. And also, I have something else that when Corporal Schreiber passed away, and that from a shooting, that a young lady in Indiana was making backpacks for the emergency personnel to hand out to children that have been traumatized. And I can tell you myself, when I lost my brother when I was 6 years old, there wasn't nothing a police officer could have said to me to bring me comfort. But if he would have given me these tools, a color book, a doodle pad, or a booklet with some information that I could have read, or my mother could have read to me to comfort me, it could have made a difference. And we want to also, in these traumatic events, we want children. Nowadays, we have parents doing drugs, there's domestic violence in the home, and what have you. We want the children to be comfortable going to the police officer, because all too often you hear the parents say to the kid, if you don't behave, that officer's gonna arrest you. And that's not what we want. We want these children to trust a police officer, so when they have a problem, maybe it's even they got lost and they don't know where they're at and they want him to take them home. We don't want them afraid to go up and ask the cop, can you please take me home? I'm lost. Or if they've got a situation where there's something going on in the home, they feel comfortable going and talking to that police officer about their problem. And it helps them cope with difficulties, it really does. And kindness can be contagious. And I have a list on my Amazon page. It's like a wish list of supplies. It can be color books, sunglasses, journals, dry erase boards, anything that's safe for a child of all ages, or even little sensory toys, because we deal with kids that's got autism now too. So we have to keep that in mind. But as I said, I do appreciate you guys listening to me and my ideas, and I just want to see us have a better community, and us all work together to make it a better community. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Becky. Okay, auxiliary report.
Yeah, I'm reading that. This is, for the auxiliary, they had their monthly meeting. 7 of 9 of the auxiliary officers attended. They winterized the generator and the boat. And then they went to the police department where they had training using flashlights and hand signals on night traffic stops. Their call for September, they came out and helped with the traffic control for the Big Boy train. And they also prepared for the harvest days, and they've been discussing the trick or treat.
All right. Chief Byer, Fire Department.
Good evening, council. For the month of September, we had 49 calls. 5 of those were structure fire related, 2 first responders. We had 27 EMS calls, 3 motor vehicle accidents, 4 automatic alarms, and then 8 calls for service. Training for September, we did fire behavior. We also did a couple building tours. We did a building tour of Lions, and we also did Hicks Gas. And then we finished out the month with doing a farm equipment entrapment hands-on training at AHW. So it was a little bit of a lighter month, but it was good training that we needed, and it also worked out well with, we have a handful of new guys. So with that being said, we do have some new personnel. Justin Posey and a Dylan Lynch are 2 new members that we have that we just recently put on in the last month. With that being said, that brings our staffing to 29 members, and we have 6 cadets. Equipment. The only thing we got going there is we didn't really do anything. Excuse me. We did the station walkthrough doors are being worked on right now. Now that's been a process that we put in a couple months back. Unfortunately, the individual that was doing the walkthrough door side of it had gotten occupied with some other stuff that had to get done. So as we speak right now, I know that hopefully by the end of the week that should be finished up. What that'll occur is it'll have the punch pad, so it'll be basically electronically driven. So now we have a secure station that we've never had before. So we can pre-assign codes to individuals that are coming in and out of the station, and we can see when they're coming in and out of the station. One of the important reasons for that was because now that we have narcotics within the station itself, I mean, they're secured within the ambulance itself, but this is just another safety measure built into place. We went ahead and got our annual flow testing completed on all of our air packs. It's something we have to do annually through OSHA. Same thing, our pump testing on all the apparatus is 100%. We are also able to get the annual ladder truck and our ground ladders tested with no failures there, so we are good. And one thing that we've done is we've purchased a automated CPR device. We refer to it as Lucas. For those that made it to our open house, you were able to see that perform in a demo version. We have the demo version right now we're keeping on the ambulance, and for those that aren't sure what it is, it's a device that obviously during CPR we can place on the patient, and it does compressions for us. So it's 100% good, solid compressions until we shut the machine off. So I give the members credit for that. This is something that the EMS side, they wanted to push for, so they've done some fundraising, and we've got $15,000 built up that they were able to go ahead and get in fundraising. The machine itself is going to be $22,000 total, but we're going to put it on a payment plan, and we should have it paid off within the next year or so. But we'll be the only one in the county that exists. Is there any questions about that one?
And you're,
No.
and you're doing that on a volunteer basis, without necessarily taxpayer dollars. It's your own
Correct. Yep.
dollars that you're.
So when you
trying to
see
generate.
us, exactly, that's all been done through donations and fundraising. So like for those that have seen us out at Family Fest, we get a little bit of donation through that way. We did a pork burger supper. First time we've done that since I've been on the department. It worked out well. We didn't know where to really start with it. We started with 360 burgers, and we were left over with 10. So that actually worked out very well. And we were able to also, for those that showed up, we were able to give them a demonstration on what this device was, so they could see specifically where their money was going. So that worked out very well. And it was an open house on top of it, so people were able to see the equipment that the fire department has and ask questions. But we have a few more things that we're going to work on in the future to get that paid off. So as of right now, that is being paid for strictly through donations. So it's an amazing tool. I'm actually very impressed that the members brought it forward, that's something they wanted to work towards. So other than that, miscellaneous. I just talked about the pork burger supper. It was a success. Hopefully we're going to do it again next year, same time. Obviously we were playing on harvest a little bit because of being down the road from the elevator, but that weekend nobody was in the field, so that didn't really work out very well. With that being said, it still worked out. We were able to basically sell everything we had, so that worked out. And I'm kind of glad it did work out that way, because I'm afraid that we'd have ran out too quick and then it would have disappointed. So now next year we're able to prep a little better, and it'll be a little bit more of a success. Other than that, drills are completed with all the schools in town. Everybody did very well. We're running a little bit behind this year. Most time we try to get those in within the first couple weeks of school. The schools themselves were behind, I understand, but we went ahead and did it, so now that everybody got checked off, the systems are 100%, and they actually did a very good, they did better this year than they did last year, I'll put it that way. The times were a lot quicker, so I'll give the principals and staff a lot of credit. Because when we come in and do it, we don't schedule it with them. So none of the staff, the only person that knows that we're doing this is the principal. And I lose, you just tell him that I'm gonna show up, or her, excuse me, I'm going to show up sometime this next week, and then we'll go ahead and complete the fire drill. So they don't really know when I'm coming, but they have an idea that I'm coming. And so they can't cheat and be ready to go. So they actually do a very good job. One other thing, I didn't put it on my miscellaneous, I apologize. This is Fire Prevention Week. This year in October, it goes from October 6th to the 12th. It's just a nationally recognized event that takes place actually in Canada and the United States. A lot of it had to start with, we always keep talking about the smoke detectors, you know, make sure the batteries are good. Now, as we know, we have a program here in town, so if you need new smoke detectors, contact fire department, and we will come put them in for you. They have a 10-year battery in them, so they meet the ordinances that are in place for the state statute in the state of Illinois. And again, that's not a grant, but that's basically a fund through the state that we've applied to, and we got it. And it's out there, you just have to use it. So we're taking advantage of what's out there, so. I think so far, since we implemented that, we've installed just shy of 300 detectors in homes in town. And these detectors that we're putting up range anywhere between $15 to $20, so if you do the math, that's what we've been able to get back a little bit. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Is there any questions?
Nope, anybody got anything for Chief? Okay. Police Department. Oh, I'm sorry. Nida.
I have a short report, so if you would have forgotten me, it wouldn't have made a difference. So far, we have 12 applicants that have applied for the police, our, list that we said we were gonna get. So it is working out so far, with the company that we went through. Those are not due till the 18th, so we'll know more information at that time. So, hopefully we got some good candidates in there. That's it for the Police Commission, other than I'm planning to attend the Illinois Fire and Police Commission conference at the beginning of November. So hopefully there's some interview techniques and different things there that I'm interested in classes to be able to attend. So hopefully I'll bring back some good ideas for our committee at that time. Going on to the Chief Selection Committee, just to let you know that so far we've got 4 applications turned in, and they're really good applications. So I'm looking forward to, we got 3 more weeks yet before those are due. So I think we're gonna have quite a few more than the 4. So we will start working on those at the end of the month. Any questions for me?
I had a person raise a question in regards to the chief's application. This is somebody that actually lives out of state, but was a native from here. Is there a requirement that you have to live in state in order to submit the application, or can you submit it living out of state and then as long
You
as
can live wherever you want to live.
That's what I thought.
apply
I
for
wanted
it.
to make sure that I was getting that
Yeah.
right, and I read it that way, and I told them that, but I wanted to confirm that as long as they comply with the
One of those 4
appointment.
applications are out of state that has applied, so.
Cool. I'll
Those will be
pass that
taken. The
along.
only requirement they're gonna have is if they were to be hired as the
Yes.
chief, they will have to attend like a 1 or 2 week to get update on Illinois laws and that type of stuff they'll have to attend. But other than that, there's no restrictions on residency as far as applying.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that. I'll pass that along. You might have another applicant.
Okay, anything else? All right,
Good work, Nida.
thank you, guys.
Thanks, Nida.
Okay. Now the Police Department.
Got the packet.
Could you put your microphone up there? Could you put your mic up there, please? Thank
Yep.
you.
Is that better?
Yes.
I believe you guys got the packet. We had a total of 370 calls for the month. Those are broken down. We are down 75 calls. If you go through that packet, at the top, we have we're up 7. We had reported 7 more thefts and 3 burglaries. So the 3 burglaries were 3 more than were reported last month. We had 0. So those take time for myself and the other officers off the street to track down tools and other stuff that was stolen. Did you guys get a packet for the, or ordinance for the public camping?
Yes.
We did.
So the ruling was upheld about the camping in public parks. This ordinance was suggested that we put in place. It specifically doesn't allow people to set up, bless you, for people to set up camp on a public roadway or a city sidewalk. So if they're blocking or impeding that road or sidewalk, that we will be able to use this public camping ordinance to enforce that. The eForce software, myself and a couple other smaller villages have been looking into a program to replace iWin, where we can run driver's license plates, and check for warrants. The problem that we're having is nobody has a system just to replace iWin. It is a complete system, so it'd be dispatching, what else? Oh, so this eForce it's a report writing software. It's a web-based software you can write e-citations, e-traffic accidents. All our forms would be web-based. We'd be able to print them out and hand them to the people. Also has an evidence thing. We got the quote from that the other day, and it is expensive, but we got some good news today. The county clerk, sounds like she's secured funding for a program that will supply the whole county electronic tickets, electronic accident reports. We'll also be able to switch to e-ordinance violations with that program, and it also comes with a program that will allow us to run driver's license plates and check for warrants, and that'll be minimal cost to us, if any.
I'm assuming they're going to let you know what the cost is.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I'm not sure if they secured it with a grant. Like I said, it's going to be next to nothing, if anything, for the police departments.
That's great.
This LEADS program, is that what the county is using? Are they not using anything right now?
They are. So the county purchased their own software.
Okay.
And we've had some, that's what we were initially planning to go with, and we've backed out of that contract. And so has all the other villages, such as Clifton, Ashcombe, trying to remember the other ones, Sheldon and Milford.
Was there a
So-
specific reason why, or?
It's expensive too.
Okay.
The software is called eForce, and they're possibly on the edge of bankruptcy is another issue. So we didn't really feel safe investing in a program where the company's all I got.
I think I want to ask Becky a question. Is that okay? Yeah. Before we get out of public safety, I have a couple of questions for Becky if you want to come back up to the podium. What are you wanting to do, and what are you wanting the city to do with what you brought to us?
If we come up with things that we feel would be important to maybe create some new ordinances or something that would maybe ban some of the problems, like some towns do, or in some states have the zero tolerance to drug dealing in their community, and if you're caught, it's a stiffer penalty. And if we could get, I don't know how legally we would go about it. I mean, maybe it's something that, the city attorney can answer for us, and not only that, we have another girl in town, who was brought to my attention. She's trying to create what she calls, some kind of, wild coyote team. And I don't want residents getting confused by the Iroquois County Neighborhood Watch versus her group that she's trying to create. as well, because we want them to be able to come to one organization and say, hey, this is a problem we're having in our neighborhood, and that, you know, what's your thoughts on it, how can you help us? Think, just basically the city just be supportive of what we wanna do, and if we, you know, like, we can keep tallies of, like, stolen goods, or maybe if we notice a big-time dope dealer, and that, keep like record of that, and of course, let Officer Marcotte or one of the other police officers know, and that, and just kind of keep a journal and maybe bring it to, before the city and say, hey, this is what we're noticing going on in the town. Because like, for instance, at my son's home, my niece had her bicycle up on the porch, and somebody went right up there and stole it, and it was just a new one that a school official bought her. And we got an idea who's done it, but
Okay, well,
proving it.
I just wanted to see what you were gonna do on your end with the neighborhood watch. You handle that part of it.
Right, and there's gonna be a meeting at the Watsika Theater, October 24th at 7 p.m. And everybody's welcome to come.
Okay,
If the city officials wanna come and they have ideas of how we could work this, and also I'm gonna try to use, some of the the ones that the National Neighborhood Watch, maybe, you know, when, we get like a group of people and like board members for the group,
okay,
we're gonna share videos of those neighborhood watch things so people know, educate themselves more to know what you do and you don't do. My biggest thing is, this other group that's trying to create themselves, the lady actually took some stolen property in her possession in hopes to find the owners. And I tell my people, my group, don't do it. You call the police, that's their job. They
okay.
will call.
That's all we needed to know, Becky. Thank you. That's all I had. Thanks.
Anything else for public safety? If not, motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next one for tonight, the code enforcement. I'd like to call that meeting to order. Kathy, do roll call for us?
Anderson.
Here.
Rolfs.
Here.
Marcier.
Here.
Delar. Miller.
Here.
Cahoe.
Here.
Mensch.
Here.
Beargree. Mayor.
Here.
7 present, 2 absent.
Okay, do we have any public comment for code? Seeing none, we have this, Home Development Corporation. John, do you want to
Yep.
take that?
Laborers Home Development Corporation, and this is kind of a happening due to that study that we did for Illinois Housing and Development. And from that free study, it came up with, you know, we've had the DNR program in place with buying houses and tearing them down and putting some money into some folks' pocket to get a fresh start. But as a result, and that is still a good, viable program. I mean, to go to those closings, you see the weight being lifted off those folks' shoulders. We've had some population leave, and this is what this group and Carly Marcer of the Laborers Home Development Corp. And anybody else, if you want to approach the podium, and please state your names for the record, and we'd love to hear about your program.
Fantastic.
Nice seeing you again.
Yeah, such a pleasure to be here. Again, my name is Carly Macer, and I am the Executive Director of Laborers Home Development. And this is my coworker and sidekick, Tammy Miller, and she is the Financial Director of Laborers Home Development. Just to kind of get started, we do have some information. I didn't know if you were interested in seeing the presentation. I can do that, but I don't need to. It's kind of up to you. I do have my laptop with me. I didn't have my USB cord, but if you guys
Okay.
want.
Yeah, we can hook you up.
Okay.
Definitely. Thank you, ma'am. And do you need any assistance from me?
Thank you.
Okay. So the only one is the thicker cord.
Anybody that's interested in seeing the video, it's gonna be behind you, so you might wanna either bring
Come
chairs
and
up or
switch your chairs so you can see the screen.
move your chair so you can see the screen if you'd like to, or come up to the table.
Yeah, table's welcome. And Nida, can I ask a favor? The This is 2 outside. Try those. Perfect. Glad I brought you tonight.
You trained her well, John.
She can be good every once in a
I don't
while.
know if that's wow.
Is that one not going to work? Okay. So Randy, you may want to pay attention to this. But again, this is a direct result of that. It was a housing and economic study that we did 1 or 2 years ago. And that's what they're here with, so.
Thank you. Go ahead, he's gonna be my being white.
All right, you are fine.
Well, again, thank you so much for having us here today, this evening. It's a pleasure to be here, and I can tell you it's been a pleasure to visit your town and your community more than a couple of times. And of course, we were talking as we got here tonight, how many great things that you have in this community. So it's a pleasure to be here. And I'm just gonna share a little bit, if it's okay with all of you, about Laborers Home Development, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the conversations that we're having here in Watseka. Go ahead, Tammy. So who we are, Laborers Home Development Corporation is an affiliate of the Laborers International Union of North America, and we are under the Midwest region umbrella. We are a private, non-for-profit developer of quality, affordable housing and secure and thriving communities. LHD was established in 1972, and I will tell you, we have been around for a long time, and of all of our properties, we have never sold any of them. So we are in the business of managing our properties as well as owning them. We have 13 developments and over 904 housing units across the Midwest. Of those 904, 202 are dedicated to independent senior living, 626 for families, and 76 units of supportive living for seniors that need assistance. It's an incredible community in Pekin. John Evans, and I want you all to know we just did win the award for U.S. News and Global Report as a #1 assisted living community in the state of Illinois. We became a HUD-approved property manager in 1999 and became a tax credit-approved property manager in 2005. And the picture you see there is of Tiger Senior Living, which I believe that is how Mayor Allhands got connected to us, is Mayor Craig from Paris. This is one of the 3 properties we have in Paris. This is a historic building, a school that is now senior apartments, and the rent there, just to give you an idea, kind of ranges from a studio of around $280, $300 to a 2-bedroom around $620 or so, just to kind of give you an idea. Next. Our mission statement, there's a lot I could say about this, but clearly it's to enhance the living standards of working families and seniors. We are committed to collaborating on development, production, and management of low-cost, affordable housing and secure and thriving communities. And we're gonna kind of skip through some of this a little bit, but obviously here, as I mentioned, we own our properties, we develop, and we manage all of our communities as well. And we are focused in the Midwest region, so we really cover 10 states, but most of our properties are here in the good state of Illinois, and we also have properties in Iowa as well. Next. So how are we funded? I know a lot of folks think that the laborers are our big bank, and the laborers really don't provide any funding to our organization other than providing our kids and things with Christmas gifts, all of the things that we would hope that they would be doing, but we are not funded through the laborers, although that would be nice. So we are, a majority of our products, our homes are through the low-income housing tax credit, which is LIHTC. So that is federal funds that are handed down to every state every year, and it is through the qualified allocation plan that there is a point system, and they award so many LIHTC projects within the state every year. So it really depends on what the state is needing a lot of times, and so they'll gear that QAP to help kind of guide developers to these particular projects that they would like. A 9% tax credit established as Section 42 of the IRS tax code. This is a federal tax credit allocated to each state to be distributed to developers. Additional financial support may come from state, city, and local governments. Just saying, that's a big part of it too. And then it's good information to hear. For every $5 of LIHTC requested dollars, only one is available and allocated. It is a very tough business, and it is very, very, very competitive. So just a few things about affordable housing here in the Midwest. You all probably know this. With a nationwide shortage of roughly 1.5 million homes and apartments, the lack of housing is the primary cause of America's growing housing affordability challenges. More than 5.6 million seniors are characterized as severely cost burdened, and I believe here in your plan, 10% of your seniors here would be in that category, meaning they spend 50% or more of their income on housing, which typically anything more than 30% is whenever it is no longer considered affordable living. 46% of low-income renters are seniors or have a disability, and another 44 are in the labor force or a single adult caregiver, and I also noticed that in your report as well. Low-income families face 7.3 million national shortage of available and affordable rental homes, while veteran homelessness has decreased by 52% since 2010 per HUD data, and this is new. The trend is reversing in the other direction with a 7.4 increase in 2023. The GAP, a shortage of affordable homes report, also shows that 11 million renter households with extremely low incomes account for 25% of all rental households. And that's another thing that as I researched and looked over all of your studies and what you have done with IDA, it's another piece for you here of a critical need as well. And housing needs disproportionately affect aging Black and brown and Latinx Hoosier, I need to change that. You guys aren't Hoosiers here. Tammy, did you see that? Populations, you guys, I'm in Indiana, so forgive me. Next. I'm just gonna skip through this because this was a presentation that I just recently did at home. I'm in Indianapolis. This is a project that we're working on the west side of Indianapolis. It's an incredible 46 unit, 55 and older senior property. Go ahead, Tammy. And that's a little bit more about that site plan. And then the impact of housing affordability in communities. And I'm gonna skip this because I know most of you probably know that. And we'll skip that one too. It's a video. And I think that's gonna be it for now. Yeah. So again, that's a little bit about Labor's Home Development. I will just kind of share a little bit more about the 13 properties that we currently have. We are right now in construction in Alton, Illinois with Sunnybrook with Family Workforce Housing. Currently, we are doing 40 units there, and we will also be managing that property, which we are working on. That will happen, my goodness, March of 2025. So it's pretty exciting. So a little bit about what we do currently is we are really being a little bit more targeted about some of the work that we're doing, and lucky for us, Mayor Allhands happened to reach out, heard a little bit about Labor's Home Development and about some of our workforce housing. Most all of our housing is either at 95% to 100% with a wait list. And I will tell you, one of our successful workforce housing communities is in Iowa, Denison, Iowa, and it is a meat packing plant community. And I'm telling you right now, the property was built in 2016. If you went today, you would think it was just built yesterday. It is so beautiful. The community is fantastic. And I will tell you, the mayor and the folks there are all the time wanting to continue, just finding the right property for us to continue because there is such a need. So after having a chance to spend some time in your community, we did identify a few of the areas within your community that may be a good fit for us, per the town, the mayor, this wonderful young man over here, and some other folks that have helped us here look at some options for Watsika to really focus on that workforce housing piece. I know you all have a pretty big deal, I think, happening next week on Columbus Day. You got a big ribbon cutting.
Yep.
60 to 80 jobs. That's pretty cool. So I know that there is a lot going on. Also, we have researched a ton about the unfortunate situation that you all have really came back from in an amazing way, was the flooding situation and the housing that has really been a very difficult thing for this community to deal with, and I'm sure to experience as well. And we're just kind of here to talk a little bit about how we can be helpful if perhaps this is an opportunity for us to work together. That's a little bit about us. Like I said, Tammy's the money lady. She's been around for
11 years.
11 years. I've been here a little over a year and a half, but I've been in the senior living business for years. And a fun note is I retired from the Indiana General Assembly in 2020 after 8 long years. So that's a little bit about us, but we would love to just answer any questions. I know we've got a couple of opportunities that we're looking at specifically. The Muller subdivision is one of them. So we have spent quite a bit of time just researching, working with our architect, kind of going over opportunities for scoring. And so we're in the process of that, but we're also interested in opportunities that your community would see a good fit for our housing, which a little bit about, if I could add, and then I can open it up for questions. So just so that we all understand about the LIHTC funding, we are not income-based housing, but you do have to income qualify with us. So meaning you do have to have income. You've got to have a landlord reference. You've got to have a good, clean background. There's a lot of things in place that we do with our housing. So it isn't, so I just want to make sure we're on the same page of the type of housing that we do. So there's a variety of ways to tackle the affordable housing, but for us, we're in a really unique spot, and we love to support and help working families and kind of target that. So, but that's a little bit about us.
I just want to make a statement. My wife and I went down to Missouri with some friends on one weekend. We came back through Jacksonville, and I believe you have 3 there. There's the high-rise, 2, I'm sorry, the high-rise, and then there's the single level. Mm-hmm. These things were immaculate, and they looked very good and well-kept.
They were 50 years old, by the way.
And 50 years old, okay. And my sister lives in Jacksonville, and they say, there's not really the issues and stuff. Because immediately there's a stigma about, lack of a better term, Section 8, but this is not entirely Section 8. This is workforce-priced housing. This is what that survey said we need more of, and we need rental units. And for some of us, and I'm going to detract a little bit, I know Dennis and I were on the council at this time when we went down to Hoopston to those, and I don't know if you were, Benny.
No.
But I mean, those are kept up. It's all about the management group. And, if city gets into doing the management, we can find ways to screw things up easy. Sometimes we make a science out of it. But with a management group, this, like I said, I see this as a big thing for us. Are you wanting to discuss anything, and maybe you don't have, as far as what you were thinking with the TIF2, the Muller?
Yeah, I mean, that's that's what we had kind of talked about. I didn't know if that was exactly squared away. But again, we want to be at the best location of where your community is. Of course, a TIF is going to be helpful, but just know we can prove and show through our developments that doing it right can be done, and that's what we've done. Right. So, again, however that works out, but that has been the opportunity that we have looked at, although I do know, per our discussions, there are a couple of other locations as well.
And I will tell you, we have done a TIF study. It has been concluded. I've got to get with the gentleman. We've been back and forth, and I don't know since when, but he's had some issues in his family. But that is, the Muller is one, and downtown is another. Mm-hmm. So we will be working diligently on that. We've had some talks with Randy in the past, And, you know, there might be something that we got to work out. But as far as like the cities, you know, you mentioned city and state. What's some of the examples of, for lack of a better term, skin in the game that a city might have? Is that a fair question?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, so home funds, particularly, there's a couple of different opportunities through the state of Illinois. Is there any that you would want to touch on?
Yeah, I mean, when you tax city, I've seen a project recently that, like, the city had put together a fund so that you could use it for a subsidy. So that's not really part of the building. So, you know, there's always any donations of funds or lands from the city in any way is good to build the property. But this was also after that, where if you had somebody, without getting too deep in details, but like, you know, you would have a 30% or 60%, which would depend on how much money they made to live in that. So if somebody was at 50%, and so we couldn't really, you know, they couldn't afford a 60, then you had this reserve set aside of funding that would pay the difference. And you know, you set so many of those units aside so that you can also help your people get in there that way and keep it full. So there's that kind of funding, but that would be after the build too. So, you know, anything, and like you said, the TIF, that always really helps.
In the donation of property,
the land,
perhaps things like that.
You know, like she said, we're a nonprofit, so we're not a developer that's going to come in here and buy your land and then develop on it and then sell it and leave. We, you know, we build these projects, we stay there.
And IDA, of course, wants to see that there is skin in the game from the community and the state as well. They want to see that you are invested. So the fact that you've already done your housing study with them, and I think I told you I called her and talked to her about your housing study. So the fact that you have already been working with them, and I'll tell you, I would ask you all to look up Labor's Home Development. The beautiful thing of working in the state of Illinois is because they have an incredible reputation. You look at anything we're doing, the state asks us to make the connections for them in the work that we do. So IDA definitely would sing our praises about our managing of our properties for all of these years, but also the work that we do day in and day out. So I would hope that your community would find that to be very important. It's not just a nice community that looks nice, but if I'm in your shoes, I want to make sure that management side is impeccable, because then the officer and the folks that are sitting here that have to take the calls when things aren't right, including the mayor and all of you, you want to make sure that you have a management company that is at the top of the game, and that's what we do as well.
That's a huge part of it, by the way, is having a relationship with
I have a question,
the
John.
department.
Yeah.
Who actually builds houses?
Yeah, so that's a good question because we love talking about that. So we use local work. So our local here, not too far from here, our laborers local, they are the ones that help us set up the construction folks for that. Just know all of our builds are 100% union built. And as well, we also hire folks from your community to become members. And so we have a manager and then we have a maintenance person as well. Just know they all have health care benefits, pensions typically, all of the things to go along with that as well. That's another wonderful thing about what we do in the history of this organization, is because if you all were in a position and we had a development in your community, and this doesn't happen, but let's pretend for 1 second that Tammy and I are not doing a good job. You guys are like, oh, the great thing that you all have at your hands as well is you can call the local, because it's their house, you know, it's their property, and you could be like, you know, it's not some developer that skipped town and you don't know where to find them. It isn't a problem we face, but I like it as another layer. So again, it is unusual. We are a nonprofit. We are kind of a break-even kind of organization. That's what we're meant for. But yes, everything that we do brings jobs to communities, and that's who we are as LIUNA and the Laborers International Union of North America. So everything we do falls under that umbrella. So that comes, though, from the local that comes from your local area. So it really depends. We always do 3 to 4 bids for construction companies, but definitely signatory and all of that through and work with us and all under that union umbrella as well.
Thank you.
And I will say, just talking to Mayor Craig, and then also, and I forget his name, from Jacksonville, talked to both.
Yep.
And they confirmed as far as the skin in the game from the city. But I think Jacksonville is just now starting to do their IDA study. So they've had these homes for a while.
They have.
And stuff like that. Again, with Hoopson, and I'm just referring to that, but I went down there and I talked to the police chief, talked with schools, and they don't have, I said, well, okay, what about calls for service? And they said, well, we don't have any more calls for service in this well-managed place than what we have around town. So, again, with the stigma of Section 8, if I remember, was there 40 duplexes we were talking about at one time? In this, the Muller site?
You mean 40 units?
Yes.
It really would depend on what we decided to do, but somewhere between 40 and 80. But yeah, we kind of like our projects to be a little bit smaller than larger. We feel like it really fits. We're good at doing rural development. That's a lot of our work, so that's typically, but just know it's really up to the community. It's up to all you folks, that are here, as to what things look like. Of course, cost within reason has a lot to do with it, but typically you really want it to blend into the rest of your community as well.
And that's what I was going to say. It was going to be single story is what you talked about, because that's what most of the houses
Right.
around there.
Yeah, just knowing the community and looking around, we would, if I lived in the neighborhood around the corner, I know what I would want to see as well. And so I think that they would be pleased with that.
She wants to ask her question.
Sure.
Okay, so, this all sounds great. I'm just like, how is this going to bring money into our community? Like, that's
Yeah.
a concern, because
Sure.
we do need money brought into the community.
Right.
So we're
Right.
donating the property, you're building, you're getting people to live here, but you're the management company, so I'm just wondering, like,
Sure. Your population is the first answer that I have off the top of my head. You have a declining population here. If you do not have a variety of housing stocks that fits all levels for the folks that you have living here, they're not going to be living here. So for number one, us providing houses is a big piece to help with your economic and development community overall. So, again, like I said, we go to places where we're wanted, where we're needed, because we truly are here to solve housing issues. So, but what we do in this situation is for that factory that's opening up that has the 60 to 80 homes already looking at the housing stock that you have here and the future of what you're doing in this really incredible community, you have to have the housing to house people, or they're going to be living in other areas. They might come to this factory and work, but they're going to be living a town over or two. So I would say to start, it really is that. And a lot of times, sometimes with our development and just some of the work that I've done over the years, is when a new housing development, or really it could be a new grocery store, a variety of things, you're going to notice a lot more economic development that happens around that. But honestly, I think the other part would be putting more money in the pocket of the people who live here to spend on the things that they should be spending their money on. That's another piece of what would be a big part of workforce housing, is so that people are not spending all their paycheck on that rent, but have a wonderful, safe community that they're proud to live in. But again, it's kind of the bigger picture too, because you guys have done a really great study, and it also has a lot to do with the economic and the community impact that housing would have as well. So that's just a few things off the top of my head, and I bet I could come up with 10. But I think more than anything too, housing provides a stability for a community to help it thrive. I've just listened to her talk about some of the issues that every community has, and you have here too. So it's just another way to solve the problems, I think, for your community whenever it comes to making sure that people can afford where they're living and to be able to you know, be a part of their community truly in other ways by spending the dollars hopefully where they should with their families. And-
Groceries, gasoline.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all of the
Yeah,
important
it's all
stuff.
about everyone deserving
That's
a
right.
safe and beautiful place that they can afford to live.
And I have one little quick question.
Sure.
Now, are these apartments also gonna be like handicap accessible in case we have, you know,
Absolutely.
residents that are handicapped?
You better believe it. And I will tell you, some of our properties, like the one of them that he visited in Jacksonville, is for people with disabilities
Oh,
that
great.
have, you know, the opportunity for independence. And again, this community's been around a long time. So we do a variety of housing. So it's kind of our specialty. But yeah, definitely. And it's really just also a requirement with the state to do things a certain way. So yeah, we have units available, and yeah, we have to think about all of that stuff ahead of time. Mhm. It's a big part of what we do, actually.
And I don't know if you won't need to wrap up. I know you got the 2-hour drive.
Yeah,
but,
it's all right.
But, you know, like I said, any more questions from council?
Yeah, Carly?
Yes.
We're talking like 40 to 45 units here today.
Yeah.
What is the low end that you would go to? I mean, if we had
The
some,
low end,
well,
well,
I'm thinking if we
typically,
had some infill properties, you know, or
Right.
lots or something like that. I mean,
right, so
half
really,
a dozen or
38 is kind of, I mean, we do have properties that are 24 units, but I tell you what, it really is difficult financially to even do. As you know, outside of how we make our money is some of the developer fee, which, by the way, is not much, and we'll be able to break that down for you to see it. But also, your properties need to cash flow. They need to cash flow. So that's the other way to make sure that we can do this. So sometimes what we've recognized is it's really hard with LIHTC 9% to go below 38 units as a whole. So that's kind of where we cut off. But, you know, never say never. We're always interested in figuring
what
it
I was
out.
wondering was if we had a few infill lots
Right.
that we could group together and be built all at one time, but they wouldn't necessarily be right in the same neighborhood.
Well, that's another part. So there's called scattered sites. So that's something that you can do as well. That's why we wanted to just keep this open as a conversation. You can do scattered sites within a community as well. And so they don't have to be at one location. They can be within a certain area. So that's always something that is possible as well. But yeah, so we haven't done a scattered site project, but I have in Indianapolis. But not with Laborers Home Development.
Great.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
absolutely. And I know that you have our information as
Yep.
well, all of you. If you all have any questions, my cell number is on there, and we'd be happy to come back as we work farther along and provide another presentation for you.
Great. Thank you. Very informative.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have safe travels. Hey, Doug. Doug. That's what he's thinking about. Yeah. We're getting there. Thank you. Safe travels.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, we're moving to Eric.
Thanks, Don. Hi, DNR Flood Mitigation. So we've been waiting on reimbursement since March 6th. And we did receive that September 25th, $245,525. Give everyone, thank you. Give everyone a copy of all the money that has been reimbursed, spent and reimbursed back to the city to date. If I could just add to that a little bit, you know, compared to the original grant, $5,357,029. We're now, you see the total reimbursements, $3,337,389. In addition to that, I've submitted for another $12,562. That was on July 22nd. We have not received that yet. And then in addition to that, we spent another $9,466 that we haven't asked for a reimbursement yet. And that's the demolition of 345 West Park and another property, 101 Fiddler Court. We're having troubles with the finance company, and we had to do some additional appraisals on there, so there was 3 additional appraisals. So out of the $5,357,029 original grant, right now, as of today, there's still $1,997,611.50 remaining. Any questions? Ordinance citations, one warning, 8 citation, and I printed out, everyone a copy of my log. Some of that overlaps with last month that you guys already received. If you guys have any questions on that. Moving along, facade grants, 117 West Walnut, Sonia Bradley. So this is for the mural that she had painted on the side of her building. You guys can see the application there, you know, she spent $14,000 on that mural. I think it's more for the promotion of Watseka versus
Yeah,
Silo
absolutely.
Pub
Beautiful.
and the Homestead venue. So she's requesting the full amount of $5,000.
I'll make the motion to do so.
I'll second it.
Minch,
Aye.
Cahoe,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Marcier,
Aye.
Rolfs,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Mayor.
Aye.
Roll call carried.
Thank you. 327 West Park. If you recall, this property was purchased from the county agent. The city purchased the property. It had an old trailer on there. The city demolished it. You guys wanted the property for a storm sewer to drain off Park and the Yount intersection. One of the neighboring property owners has an interest in purchasing that property. I've talked to Lauren about it. You know, he's concerned about the storm sewer and maintaining the storm sewer, and in addition, there's a sanitary sewer that crosses the back of the property, and there's a manhole back there.
I think Lauren said he'd want absolutely strong easements and agreements and stuff before we'd even consider.
I was asked to bring it before you, and here it is, so,
I think,
I don't think we ought to sell it.
I agree, it's a pretty important piece of property. Believe it or not, there is a large storm sewer there that we installed, this year,
2 years ago?
2 years ago.
Yeah.
And we don't want to impede nothing there. So I would also say no.
I know that the person who's interested in purchasing that property only wants to do is build a fence, willing to maintain that property. So I think before we make any kind of a decision, we need to bring him in front of this council and hear his side. So we don't, he's willing to offer the city money, and if it's not gonna save us money from having to maintain it, and it still fits within our guidelines, we should at least entertain the offer to have him come and explain. So I think it would be premature to go ahead and wave a pen and say no without at least hearing what would be his side of the story.
Yep.
We don't have to do anything with it today. We haven't done anything with it for forever. So if he's willing to make an offer for it, we've also, I don't think we've ever said no to anybody else that's interested in purchasing properties that are able to be sold. So I think we at least need to hear his side.
Do we want to move this to Lauren's meeting next week?
Probably a good idea. That way we get his side, and if the other person wants to come in, Scott, if you want to let him come in?
I would say yes.
Item?
I'd say add him to the agenda as long as he's available. I don't know about
Okay.
that. I'm
Why don't
getting
you,
his third
you want to work
party,
that
so-
out and then get with Kathy if he's available?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
again, I'm getting his third party, but at the same time, I at least agree with that. Before we actually wave a pen and say no, we should at least hear his side.
Okay. Go for next week?
Okay. So I got a call from John Owens, ARC of Iroquois County. They would like to adopt Elm Street to pick up the garbage and keep it clean and just kind of maintain it for appearance purposes.
I'm assuming that's with the
I told
clients,
him
sir?
I'd put it on the agenda, and is
I'm assuming that's
John
with the
here?
clients? Okay.
We're looking for any way that we can get out in the community more.
Awesome.
And we've got some staff that are really excited about getting people out, and we thought this would be a good start. If anybody has any ideas on how else we can help serve the community, that's the direction we want to go.
So
think
Elm
that's
Street,
great.
You'd be starting at 4th and going all the way to the cemetery, or?
Wow, okay.
The only suggestion I'll make is if you're gonna have people out working on the sides of the roads and the like,
Hi, Biz.
please equip them with safety vests.
Well, that's part of the reason I was here. Phones, do we
For sure the hype is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's DOT
That's good.
specs that can be provided, but I'm just thinking about it from a safety standpoint. I don't want to see any of your residents injured. So I don't think it's going to necessitate what would be flaggers and all of that kind of thing. But
Do we need to check with Joe, CanCar, and see if there's anything special,
well, I mean,
insurance-wise or anything like that?
that would probably be a good idea if we're going to sanction this. But at the same time, you know, just to make sure. I mean, I'm all for it. I think that'd be a great way to get get your residents out.
Absolutely, that'd be a great thing.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's done safely.
Especially with the weather we've had the last few days, it'd be nice to be outside.
So, do I speak with you, Eric, about
Yeah,
Sure.
together later? If you guys are all cool with that, then I just talk to him.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing it up.
I tell you what, your father was one of the best teachers I ever had. So. Never heard that. Okay. Yes, sir.
Thank you, John.
There you go. All right, we'll let you get the beans.
So lastly, 101 West Smith Street. This was another county agent property. Individual has purchased this property for the county. I don't know if they've completed the sale yet or what's happening with it, but she inquired about the liens on the property. So there's a $912 weed and mowing lien on the property in addition to a $4,839.68 demolition lien.
I'm assuming this is the pink garage. Am I right?
No,
Oh, which one's this?
It's on the corner of Smith and, is it
Monroe?
Monroe?
I think
Okay.
so. It is.
Yeah. It's got the big dead tree that we've been
Oh, yes.
dealing
Okay.
with, yeah.
Yes,
and-
yes.
And I've already told the individual that the dead trees needs to be taken care of. But, you know, she's asking for some leniencies on these liens, you know, if the city would be willing to do anything for them. I told him I would bring it to the higher powers, so here we are.
So we got a total of
900.
4,000?
You got a total of, 57,
57.
approximately.
And she herself did not incur these. She just inherited them by buying the property. Is that what I'm hearing right? Or
Yeah.
You know, it's, I've been under the understanding that when the county disperses these properties, they clear all the liens. So
I don't understand
why-
how
why
it could
she
be sold
approached
without
us-
it.
Why she approached us, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I don't understand how it could be sold with a lien still in place. So, I don't know.
And I'm not sure if she's even actually purchased the property. Maybe only the contract has been approved.
I would have thought that would have been a requirement and disclosure at a minimum. So, you know, I've given her the option to back out of it. So,
That'd be on the county trustee, I guess.
I think that's another item that needs to be tabled for now until we can find some more information. I mean, I feel sorry for her if she bought that property unknown and is planning on doing something with it, because it's not in a flood zone, obviously.
It is in flood, well, I may be
Usually
mistaken.
if there's
Smith,
a lien,
there's
they
some
wanna
in
be
Smith that is not in flood zone.
Can she build on it?
She could build on it if it's,
If they
in
meet the
or out
requirement.
of the flood zone.
So, I think we just need to get more information on that
Yeah.
before we make any decisions.
I agree with that too.
That's all I had.
Check with the county and find out about that lien?
I believe, just before I left tonight, she was emailing me and wanted copies of all the liens, and she was gonna go to the county with them, so that
Okay.
was my question, is the county gonna take care of this for you, or do I need to still come to you guys? She asked me to still come to you guys, so
County.
here I am.
Okay. Is that all you have, Eric?
That's all I have.
Any questions from anybody?
I've got another.
John?
My other?
Yeah, you're up.
Okay. You know, I'm kind of starting to feel like I want to stick up for us. Salute to all the neighborhood who have contributed time, goods, and funds to help the Helene victims. Perhaps our own flood and suffering has developed from a sense of empathy for those hit with similar disaster. We also know storms keep getting worse, water drains down on us faster than ever, and we shall get hit again. We have not seen any new FEMA programs since 2018. Sadly, we've only cleaned up damage to demolishing hit houses. Nothing has been done to prevent or lessen future flooding. Nothing has been done for economic recovery, to provide new housing and sites for commerce. Local government should be taking the lead on these issues, but it's ignoring them. Well, we just had a case here where the lady showed up from Indianapolis that we have been doing some of this. This is again those examples where your social media, don't take it to heart, because the author of this should probably be making some pretty good money writing fiction or fantasy. But I'm going to go through some things here. Said 2018. Well, we've had 4 100-year floods since 2008. 2008 is when we got the federal declaration, and we were able to get some funding. 2014, 2015, and 2017 were all state declarations. And all 4 of those, from the IDNR, we were offered the $5 million flood mitigation, tear down the houses, buy the houses, tear down, put some money into some folks' pocket. I'm telling you, if you haven't gone to any of those closings, Eric, I've been there, you see a burden lifting off these folks' shoulders. So that's the main reference. But we also participated with the Army Corps of Engineers when this happened, and we did the free part that we could, and then it came down to our 50% share was $225,000, our 50% share, but we would have had to jump into this, and that was before any economic benefit study was done. So they could have gone through all this and then said, no, we're not going to pay millions to save hundreds of thousands. I'm just using that as a reference. But again, another part where this person is wrong, and we've created the CRS. That's a reduced on the National Flood Insurance Program deduction. It's kind of like ISO. You don't necessarily see the discount exactly on your policy, but it is taken into consideration by the insurance companies. We did the housing study, which was free. We had the lady show up here that is now considering talking to us about doing a housing and development. I mean, how ironic is that on the day that I received the screenshot, we have this person coming in, again, where this is wrong. Let's talk about drainage. 2017 to 2018, when I was mayor-elect, I got with Van, I'm sure some of you remember Van, we did the Porter Avenue drainage because that storm sewer had collapsed. We did the Kingdon's drainage, if you remember those big pipes. Now, true, we did do some internal engineering that was flawed, and we had to fix that, but thank God we had Lauren and his crew trained up. And then we just talked about the Park Avenue drainage project. We are doing TIF studies. We talked about that with this new housing development. We're talking about downtown. We've tried to, and now all of a sudden we have a resurgence in some economic development downtown through facade grants. We've done some low interest revolving loan up to the tune of about $300,000 now, I believe. And then we have, is that the 4662? But we just had a Zoom meeting yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's $1.4 million. So again, just a lesson to everybody out in the public, do not let Facebook be your only guide for information, because this person has been wrong probably 90 to 95% of the time. Sorry to go off on my tangent, but I want to stick up for my team here, and we have been working on flood. And the drainage, I wish Lauren was here, but once we got that corrected, Lauren's group got that corrected. You know, we're in a low spot. We'll probably never, ever, ever get rid of flooding, but that's going to help secede, or whatever you call it when it goes down, reseed the floodwaters. So this thing is just wrong on several counts, and person needs to do a little more research. That's all I got.
Anybody else? If not, I move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Dennis.